here.
Is that assumed that it's included?
In the scope of work, we require them to analyze up through schematic design all of the ad alternates in the cost estimate.
You know,
These are
it
the
wouldn't
ones
hurt
in
to say
addition.
it here too.
But sure,
It would be consistent to name it in both
Yeah,
places.
I mean, if this building could be enhanced to include whatever the library needs plus enhanced council chambers, and we get paid for it that way, we ought to be doing that, so.
I agree with that. That
please
could be
put
a good.
that-
In addition to the ad alternates in the
So
whatever estimate.
I had some language I can give to you later, Gordon, if you want.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer.
But I think the next sentence would probably read something like, in addition to the ad alternates presented in the cost estimate,
Yeah.
comma, other potential areas of
Okay,
interest.
Chris, can I ask something along the same lines here? So in looking through the original estimate, there were actually 10 alternates. So I think what's confusing, the first time you read this, is that we specifically call out 2 or 3 of these alternates,
Not all 10.
but not all 10. And then when you actually look through all 10, one of the 10, alternate number 7, was renderings. So we were asking the architect to give us an additional price for doing additional renderings for community outreach and marketing. And I believe we've actually called that out in the scope.
Yes.
So it's sort of, the whole thing is kind of confusing, to be honest.
We could, I mean, we could easily here do a bullet point,
I
list
think that's
those.
what
I think it'd be
Yeah.
From the master plan, the following ad alternates,
Yeah.
and these other ones.
Yeah.
And where that's gonna have another impact is in the scope of services and how many different plans they give us. It's gonna get a little complicated, Gordon, so when we get there, that'll be a big discussion. Where it's how many iterations of a plan they give us based on how many different possible permutations.
Yes.
That's gonna be a little bit complicated to discuss. Yeah.
Just a point, this RFP is kind of the scaled up version of the detailed scope.
Yeah.
So if we start itemizing stuff within the RFP and we happen to miss something in that detailed
Yeah,
scope,
that's tricky.
it's tricky.
But
So
in
we
the
want to
take-
make sure that they're either
Oh, yeah.
consistent or this is less information.
Okay, but it should be called out somewhere, and it's not
Yeah.
called out in the scope either. That's the only thing.
We could, maybe it might be better to call it out in the scope, in the detailed
Whatever you
scope,
recommend.
is to list those.
Yeah.
And do it both
I-
ways.
I'm not 100% sure what the renderings are. It may have been, that may be one of the things that's crept into the actually we need it.
It was a way to bring the
the
funds.
fundraising. I don't
Yeah,
know.
but
Yeah.
we
But
it
do,
was-
we do need it for
Yeah.
the fundraising.
Well, we also have
Already.
public art in there. And some of these seem a little
You
redundant.
mean in the add-ons?
Yeah.
I delete
Some
them.
of
I
these-
I did it.
I think
deleted
I think
public
we should,
art.
I think what Gordon said is we need to go
Yeah.
through this again,
I
and
agree with
decide which ones to stay. Some of these issues or items seem to be part of the lead too, so we're just pulling some.
The difference was going above lead, what we clarified in the subcommittee, because it, just exactly the question came up, Rose, was what lead was assumed in the alternate? And I think it was lead goal, no, in the one that's in the cost estimate.
Oh,
And then, so then we said, so you're gonna give another alternate to go beyond lead gold, to lead platinum and or net zero. So it was kind of a double alternate. But it is confusing, Gordon. And would it be worth going through that list of alternates right now so that you have a chance to prepare a final document without coming back for more discussion?
I'm just wondering if, because I don't like to have things in two places, because then,
Yep.
George's point, if you miss one, which becomes dominant. But I'm also concerned that putting in, if we had 10, even if you knock 2 out, you have 3 more here, the architect's going to be somewhat challenged to give us detail. Would it be better to say, here's all this work through schematic design, and Paul, I appreciate your input too. Here's all this work through schematic design, and then have a negotiation on the fee afterward. Realize that gives them a chance to, increase the number, but it's going to be very hard not knowing how much of these 13 alternates you're going to want for them to figure out a fee when they do.
Can we go through the 13 alternates and then we'll see if it's 1 or 2 we have to add, or, 13? I mean, that may answer the question.
Clyde has the list.
I think it's-
Rose has the list.
I think it's worth going through it, Gordon, if you don't mind.
Sorry.
First one's council chambers remodeled, I think we're all in.
That's
Yeah, that
definitely on
should
the
be,
list.
definitely.
Okay.
Well, that's not this,
Yes,
It's building.
yes, yes.
Yes, it is.
It's actually called,
Let's-
Town
I think we
it's the
probably,
town hall.
It's actually-
because that's what
I
it's-
suggest we call it town hall
Underneath.
rather than council chambers, because we're gonna build a new council chamber
Yeah.
and you're gonna get confused.
Yep.
Maybe.
So in fact,
Historic,
it should,
Historic
town hall.
town hall,
Historic
that's,
town hall.
that's what I called it in my mind.
yeah, and that's the phrase that we've used in the document.
So Gordon, you're
I think that's
the, are you the primary note taker?
Yeah.
Great.
That's
Okay, well, that's
Well,
number
that's
one, what
number
else?
one.
What else
It's
we
not
got?
on
Yeah,
the
but
list.
it's not here, so we need to keep it, you know.
Point of clarification, you're saying historic. That's a flag
Be
for
careful.
architecture.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
find a historic
How
How
architect.
about
Well,
Original,
existing?
existing
Well,
town
existing.
hall.
All right.
Yeah.
That would,
Yeah.
don't use the
So
word
we have to
historic.
change that over here on the, what,
We'll get to that later.
We'll get there.
no.
Okay, next one. Who, Rosa, you calling him out or?
Underground garage,
Yes, that's on our list.
okay?
For staff and police.
For whomever.
Okay, are we ready for the next
Certainly
one?
for
Yes.
police.
Photovoltaic panels.
Wouldn't that just be a part of
So
LEED?
with platinum
That's what
or-
I'm
I think that
thinking,
fits
but
into
unless.
I think that's a part of
the
it.
zero
not necessarily.
discussion.
Good.
They may be able to achieve net zero without photovoltaic.
No, but I mean, it would be a part of the, you
But it
wouldn't,
fits into the lead platinum.
you wouldn't tell an architect, now add some photovoltaic panels to this
So-
project. You
Is it,
say,
is it part of the base work, or is it an add alternate?
it's a part of
That's
the
an
green,
add-alternate.
it's a part of the add alternate. It's a part of the LEED upgrade, or part of the sustainable, what do we call it, green design upgrade? Yeah,
So what is it, outer end?
it's included under a general concept that, what's your committee, it's called green building design?
It's
But-
in,
but
it's
that
in,
doesn't-
in
that's
the
not-
language we already have.
Is it in, yeah, is it?
Well, we're
in
now
the
calling it
compliant
LEED platinum
design?
and or
We're
net
calling
zero.
it lead compliant design
Right.
up to platinum
Is it
and
there?
or net zero.
I think it's included, you don't need to say it separately.
Okay, so
Does
let's
anybody
not, let's
disagree
take
with
that
that?
out.
Okay, because it'll be in there.
I agree,
Well, when you say take it out,
it's already in.
Meaning
We're
we
gonna
don't have
name
to
the
put a
The
alternate.
bullet
that
point.
component
Is
is
it not a
in
named
something
alternate?
else.
It's, previously you've been saying all the named alternates in the cost estimate are things they're gonna quote, they're no longer gonna do that. They're only gonna quote the ones we're naming.
okay, so council chambers.
Is that right, we're saying, right?
And
Existing town hall,
We're not gonna call it council
We'll call it
chambers.
existing.
Existing town hall.
Yeah.
And then underground
Underground
garage.
garage.
Okay,
And then whatever the lead one, the lead
The photovoltaic
Lead compliant design
panels
up
is
to platinum
and net zero.
and or net zero.
There you
You've
go.
got the language already in
Right.
there.
and are those two separate add alternates?
They're gonna educate us on it.
out. Well, it's the way it's written in the scope is. include
They're not gonna
lead
price lead
design
platinum and then
platinum
net
and
zero. They're gonna
price
come and
net
say,
zero
here's
in
what we
water.
think makes sense on this site. Or there's a range of values, yeah. That's a part of their RFP to tell us how they're gonna do that.
I'm sorry. Net zero is-
No, we're not getting down the list very fast. Let's go to the
I
next
know. Okay,
item.
next one is corporation yard. Yes. No?
So, I mean, are we moving it?
No,
What is the issue?
what are we gonna do with it?
Move it to the park, I think was
Well,
what.
or
No,
upgrade
no,
the,
no, no.
We're-
upgrade the metal building that's over there.
That wasn't.
I don't think we
We were
need to
talking
do
I think we
anything.
talked about
Oh, you know,
moving it.
moving it.
I
We
thought
were
it was
talking about-
moving it
we
to
were
the
talking about
park.
moving
It was talked about moving to the middle. I think
Yeah.
the courtyard stays where it is.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
it
so
is.
don't, so this is
Yeah.
Off the
We
list.
take it out.
out, out, out. Okay, next one is site upgrades, signage and furnishings. What were we thinking?
That's the.
Furnishings upgrade.
Yeah.
I think
Yes, one was reusing all the furnishings that are existing, and the other was up to everything being new. It's a
Well,
question. of
my
which
reaction
one.
on that is, if we have to, we'll reuse the front. Let's see where we are with the budget.
But furnishings,
No,
furnishings are not part of
So
our
that
What
actually
about
doesn't.
site
Right.
upgrades?
Does that have any
City
impact
manager
on the
says that
architect?
furnishings are not
Yes.
part of our
That
fundraising
does.
efforts.
Okay, good, so then you can
Okay.
deal with putting in new furniture.
Hold on, that's not what this one says though.
Site
This is
upgrades.
nothing to do with furniture.
And what is it?
It's to do, they wanted to have, I don't know why this got in there, but it's in here. Vehicular paving, premium finished paving for driveways and parking lots.
Oh, they can't not put that in, every architect.
That's
will
what
put
it
that,
is.
yeah.
Well, I
But
can't
this
imagine we
says
put that in now. We
upgrade
don't know
to
if we can afford a
precast
building.
Upgrade to precast concrete
Site
pavers.
furnishings.
This, if you recall, there was this really big, huge estimate that was
Yeah.
provided,
Uh-huh.
and then the whole thing was scaled down to a much smaller number.
We
What-
don't
What
need that
that's
at all.
talking about is do you want a Class A interior finishes and design,
talks
or
about,
Class
like,
C,
pavings
or
in
Class
Right,
D?
this is exterior design.
Exterior, right.
Okay, well, so we're talking about
Put
seat
site
walls and
signs, so
trellises.
it's say seat walls,
Let's
so I
go
guess
signage.
they're talking about the site, you know, outside.
We're really talking about site work. Do you want an upgraded site plan? Do you want a basic site plan as the base case and then an upgraded one that has cool things where people will
And
hang
do you
out?
want grass and concrete, or do you want some paver stones?
That's probably worth asking for.
That's probably a valid,
It's a general concept of do you want an upgraded site plan that'll have more amenities, site amenities?
Yeah, there we
we're
go.
only gonna
Call
do
it
it if
out-
we can
call it
afford
out
it,
separately.
obviously.
Okay, yeah, that was $1 million.
Clarify that?
Yeah.
So we're keeping
Isn't
that
that part
in?
of the standard design, and if it doesn't meet budget, you don't get it?
I hope so.
But there might be a,
It might be upgraded.
but there might be a donor who's willing to say, look, I'll give you $500,000 to really make it a nice place to hang out and sit and look a little nicer and put some signs
It's a
up.
fountain.
Okay, so you wanna just bracket that as a,
They do a basic plan that meets budget, and then they come back with some enhancements and say, here's some things you can go try to get donations for.
I think that's a fair
Yeah.
upgrade.
We're gonna know
So
in
we're
the next
gonna
couple of
title it
months how
upgrade on
much of
site
this
plan?
is.
Upgraded site plan, and what was the word you used, and site amenities.
Furnishings.
Furnishings might be benches outside.
Upgraded site
Furnishings
plan.
didn't mean furniture.
Site
No.
amenities.
How are
Is
you
that
wording
what
it? How are you wording
Site
it?
amenities.
Site
amenities.
Upgraded site
Site-
amenities.
Upgraded
That
site
sounds-
amenities.
Perfect.
Okay, wait, so that's the official upgraded site amenities.
Yeah. Right,
Okay, so that's in for now.
next one.
Next one is public art.
Out-
That's a
out-
part of upgraded site amenities, don't you think?
Out.
Just leave it out, people can
No.
donate
We
it?
can donate
You
that.
know, we have an
I
art,
think-
there is an art committee in town, there's already people on
We
the
can-
act
we
now.
can-
who are-
Plus it
who
gets
are
controversial.
on that.
We don't
We'll
need the
do that
architects to
separately.
give us
No, and
advice.
someone's always unhappy.
It's
Okay.
only if you
I
wanted
already
to
got one person
integrate
who could give us
art
something inside, so let's
into
just.
the building. Like if they had to design,
Let's don't fight
Yeah,
over
we're not
that.
gonna-
Let's don't go
That's
there.
fine.
That's a whole nother
The next one
war.
is renderings, we
What do
decided to
people
keep
like?
that in.
Is it modern or
That's-
classical and
But I don't
everything
think
else?
renderings.
I believe
What is
that
renderings?
Rendering should be in the base.
You know what, renderings I think was
Specifically
supposed
to
to,
community
yeah,
outreach.
Oh, the community outreach.
I believe that that's
Yeah.
That should
already.
be
It's
part of
covered in
this.
the
So
scope.
it's not, not,
It's
that's
in
not
here.
an add-all.
Oh,
It's in there, so
That's
renderings are
already-
not an alternate.
Okay.
Great,
the
thanks.
renderings that are part of the base contract are rudimentary, they're CAD or Revit generated three-dimensional views of the building. They can have color, they can have texture to them, but it's not as if you're paying for like a
A
watercolor.
marketing set.
Well, a lot of projects will have a watercolor, hand-rendered image of the
Right.
building. It's got lots of soft edges to it,
That's
and
not
then
in
you
there.
frame it.
Really?
So we do need that.
Oh,
We want an alternate for that.
$65,000? I don't think so.
That's the
Oh.
budget before.
It's how you're gonna raise a lot of money, Dee Dee. You're gonna want that.
For $65,000?
Is that a 3D model?
On a $30 to
No.
$40 million project, you're gonna
Just
want it.
rendering. No, that
it's,
model is
it's,
not
it's a,
rendering.
it's a watercolor typically.
It's what gets people, it's what you have over a
No,
thousand,
it-
people getting
I
excited.
mean, I've got,
3D model.
for other projects, I've gotten quotes
Then
per
if you're telling me we're
rendering
gonna
about
need that, then
$5,000
we're not
a
gonna be
piece.
raising any money until next June. We're gonna
Oh,
start
no,
this
but it'll
without
come
that.
in the public, well, yeah. I don't know when it's gonna come, but you're gonna want it.
I don't think we need a $65,000 watercolor.
I agree with that.
That's not.
It's not a
probably
single
There's
65,000.
probably multiple,
One watercolor is $5,000.
Yeah, about $5,000.
But
5
it's-
to 20.
And that's one, and if you want alternate one, alternate two, alternate three, then you have more
Yeah.
challenges, and you're not gonna be doing renderings for the library most likely,
But
because
it's,
of
we're asking for an
fundraising
alternate, we're not
components
saying we're
of-
gonna spend it,
the
we're
main
just
stuff.
saying quote it. So later you don't gouge us.
This is putting foxtails on our Cadillac, let's not do it.
Thank you.
Do we have a model?
You don't wanna get a price, so later they can't just charge you whatever they feel like?
I'm probably not gonna ask them for it later, so let's
Okay,
not go
it's
there.
just, it's to our advantage to ask for a price up front.
I
is
mean,
all I'm
what are
saying.
they gonna give us to come to the council? What are they gonna do to come to the council?
The Revit, the AutoCAD stuff.
Yeah.
And it's in color, they'll put color on it, right?
Well, and is there any, are there slides in the computer generated that can be pulled off and copied and handed out?
Yes.
Thank you very much. That saved us $65,000.
So no models then? No, I mean,
No model.
No, no.
3D, it'll
We
be.
wanted a 3D model like the guy had at the council meeting the other night. It's gonna cost us money.
Yeah, those
That's an
are.
extra.
You know, I think we have to be really careful about our presentations.
No, but just give, this is to our advantage to get a price up front. We don't have to spend it, it's just you get a fixed price bid now, when you haven't hired somebody yet, and they're still pitching. Later, they may charge you a different price.
These become
Yeah.
public documents,
Okay.
don't the agreements become public documents?
The agreement,
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Well, wait, if it sounds like there's a general sense of let's don't do it. What's the next one?
So
Ron?
Okay,
Okay,
enhanced
there are-
ballistic sheathing.
That's for the police.
that's for the police department, that there's
That
a,
should be in
there's
there.
there's a
Is that a
certain
part of the
amount
gun
in
range?
there.
Correct.
No, it's not part of the gun range, there's a certain amount that's in there,
There's
but
no-
that would add more interior.
Protective, yes, whatever.
Okay, so we keep
And
that.
it's an add-on. I
Do
just
we
leave
want
it.
to do the police stuff as a group
Yeah.
or do a bunch of individual
Well, I
police
don't know, is there
projects?
more police stuff?
No, I think it's.
No.
Because there was the underground
Why that
range
As a pullout.
in the
That's not
garage.
there, that has,
That's
that's
not
been
even in there,
taken
so,
out.
yeah.
I don't think that's part of it.
That's out.
So it's just the ballistic.
The underground range was out,
No, no, we're not talking about that, are we? It's enhanced ballistic sheathing.
no, I think that's an add.
That's an important one?
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
And that means if a gun goes off, it doesn't
It is
kill somebody in the next
Phrase,
office.
enhanced ballistic
Is that what that
sheathing.
What
means?
is bullet?
It makes a safer entrance,
Mhm.
okay? It makes a, more of the, in case somebody comes in with a loaded gun and starts firing there, it's
Oh,
more of a protection. I don't know that we need it, but I think it's.
it's an alternate.
I think actually what's in there is hardened lobby, but this would probably add more, for example, maybe around the, you know, the interview room or some other areas. It just gives opportunities.
Great, okay. Next one.
Okay, additional furnishings allowance.
We've heard that
I
staff
think
is
that's
paying
the-
for furnishing, right?
That's the furniture, so.
So let's
So,
take that
out.
out.
Take it out, that's George.
Right?
Out, okay, and then the last one
Sorry,
is.
what,
George is.
Hang on, we've got 5. We're standing at 5 right now.
I'm looking for 6.
so why,
It is 6.
What's the last one?
why are we saying that
Stormwater
there's no
collection and
furnishings
reuse
allowed?
system, reuse system.
Town can pay for
Stormwater
that.
collection and reuse system.
Ah,
That's a C3, isn't it?
It goes beyond
Or is it
C3.
net zero?
It would be,
It's
it
on
could
the
be part of net zero water. In order to be able to, you know, use the water, you have to collect it somehow. This, and we have, a number of our residents have done this. They are collecting their water on
Okay, so
site.
wouldn't this
and
be
storing it.
included in what we
Net
already
zero.
have for language for?
Environmental.
Yeah.
Green.
You can, I think it's in the
Yeah,
green
it would
language.
be part of the,
So
Can we
that's
go
out.
back to the furnishings 1 second, Clive? Do you have the detail on that one?
George is getting what he.
No, I'm thinking if we're talking built-in furnishings, that would be
that's
part of
different. That's
interior
part of the
architectural
project.
design.
yeah, that, any of the casework would be part of their design.
Okay, so we're talking actual
this is loose furniture.
desks.
Yes,
and
desks
furniture.
and chairs and
So
things
we
like
have
that.
built-in furnishings in there, so that people have
And,
a
you know,
counter to put it on.
Just do
But the
a
alternates,
purchase order,
it's just
even
furniture,
for
right? Like freestanding.
for furniture.
Yeah, okay.
Can I clarify? The furniture that's
So
in
we've
the
got 4,
current
add on
budget
5?
doesn't include the library, is that correct?
So there.
There is a separate line item for furnishings for the library.
Okay.
So we have a handful. I'm counting historic, existing town hall,
Right, well,
underground garage, green, whatever we're gonna call that, upgraded side amenities, and enhanced ballistic sheathing.
well, what do you mean green? We're keeping the.
That,
That's the language
Panels?
That covers the.
The whole concept of stormwater,
So it's kind of a-
Oh, okay,
photovoltaic.
so big back.
Lead
Add the new
compliant
one.
up to
Okay.
platinum and net zero.
Okay.
Dumps all of that in.
And there's a committee here that's, and the architect's gonna have a hard time bidding this, because they're gonna say, what exactly do you want? They're gonna ask us in their interview probably.
We're gonna go.
They're gonna bid something, they're gonna be very clear what it is, hopefully. And then the green committee is gonna come back and educate us, and then we're gonna know more of what we wanna ask for, and it's gonna be iterative, I think. Right? Otherwise,
Of
what do you-
course, but
Yeah.
they, in the proposals that we've chosen, the qualifications, they all talk about it,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, they
how,
every one of them.
everyone.
All right, so those are the 5 alternates, Corey. So we're no longer saying all the alternates in the cost estimate. Those are the 5 alternates. And they're gonna quote their contract with alternates for those 5 items.
Those can be easily bulleted in both locations.
And you
Yeah,
can maybe
that's true.
even create a defined term called
And so to clarify.
project alternates or
So,
something.
so we're gonna include them in both places, right?
Yeah,
The
I
RFP
think
and
we
this
can.
one.
With 5, it's,
Okay.
would be, just make sure the language is parallel.
Now, do we need to discuss
Yeah.
net water?
Wait, where are we?
It's at the, we're still on page 4, or 20-some pages.
What you
covered
just
tonight.
did with stormwater, you.
Take it out?
I don't think you need to discuss it separately.
Okay.
I
So are
think-
we done with page 4?
Any other comments on page 4? No, we're on page 5. Excellent.
We're moving right along here.
Well, we are covering very important issues, so I think Dee Dee's made a good point up front. There's some big conceptual issues. If you hit them, then the other things come easier. So we're on page 5. Any comments on page 5?
I have one comment on the, under under proposed timeline under February 18th, it says,
Yeah.
town council affirms CCAC recommendation. It probably should be reviews CCAC recommendation.
Yeah.
We can't, no, it's not for not. We've got that on the top of page
Well,
6.
reviews and approves,
Well, we're gonna definitely approve something.
reviews to approve.
Well, you might even have a agreement.
Considers, or whatever
Then
you're
if
gonna
we
say, yeah.
all agreed before, remember, we had that slip and slide at the end there, kind of?
You have, there was an extra month that I did not, I mean, this assumes it's done in February, but, you know, that's why it's only proposed. I mean, if the council's unable to reach agreement.
So-
then
Right.
no one's
What
gonna
I'm
say
gonna
no.
suggest is we're gonna table the timeline, because it depends how far we get today, what we decided in this meeting, what impact we may have on this timeline based on our review of this document. So, any comments on page, George, will you guys come up with the word that you're all comfortable with instead of affirms?
Yeah, we'll rewrite
This
that
is
one.
this is a term of art that you guys will
What are
know.
you talking about?
The February 18th, 2015 item will clarify the language.
Yeah, we're getting like affirms, and there was some debate about what the right word should be, and I think staff should
Afraid to
come
have
up
more
with
than
that.
views.
Okay. Any comments on page 6?
I think the only comments I had were on item 4 was 5, 7, and I think it's been clarified by all the adults that was so confusing for me.
I had that question, and then I had a question above on number 3, work plan. I thought we wanted to ask them for a detailed itemization of hours so that we could get a sense of what their cost might be without actually having the
That's the
estimate.
matrix by phase of work hours, including the sub-consultant work hours. And I think you probably want to add by position.
Yeah, that's what I was
The
wondering.
matrix will be clear to them, that that's, good, yes, that? Okay.
So it'd be by phase and position or something like that. That way we can get a sense of how expensive they're gonna be.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm on page 7.
Wait.
exhibit
Whoa,
1.
whoa, whoa, whoa,
Yeah,
whoa.
sorry.
Eight, evaluation criteria, here we go to scoring again.
Oh dear, yes.
This is very broad scoring, and we talked about that, should we have, you know, we broke down the last one, police, library, administration, building, and so forth. For example, on that one, best value, we're not gonna know the best value because it's in the sealed envelope. And so why even have that in there at this point when we start
Well,
evaluating?
that's where the work plan by phase
Hours
and by
That's,
position.
some districts are making a guess, you might get close, but you won't get the number, so you see the number. And
Okay.
Well, we'll know what their hourly rates are, right?
Yes.
And we're gonna know what they're estimating their hours to be, what they're quoting their
Now,
hours.
is there a way to, I mean, I'm gonna wanna judge these folks on budget issues. We're gonna have presentation, you're gonna check references. And how do I reflect that in these,
Best value.
do you think best value will do
I
that?
think it's looking at their hourly rates and their estimates of time. It's gonna be generally,
By,
you're not gonna
by
have the.
position,
And then
Yeah,
references who say, how do they do
Whatever
on
else you want
achieving
to
the budget?
discuss.
which is, yeah.
Yeah, all right, I just wanna make sure we have a place for that.
Yeah.
What
What would you change here, Phil?
Well, I was just gonna say, maybe we ought to break down, one of these categories into,
Project.
understanding of the project, work plan, by police, by library, by so forth. We've seen in the proposal so far, most of them are very good with library, but they're not so good with police. So maybe we ought to be able to take a look and see what they do.
Could we do that, could this committee, could we go out with these percentages, unless you don't like these, and then between now and the interviews, or reviewing the RFPs, the proposals, we could name a subcommittee, come up with a suggested breakdown of within these, because I don't think we need to tell them.
What if we just said understanding of project and specific project needs, which includes your budget-driven issue, your library.
And your police.
They're gonna look at this and say, this is how we ought to put our proposal together,
Well-
because this is the weighting on the scoring.
Yeah, I
Some of them
think,
got smart and did that before, it pretty much answered what we wanted to answer by looking at the ranking.
And so, I'm sorry, I probably missed it, how would you change it? What would you,
Well,
what would you revise?
I haven't, I just said, look, we've talked about the police, the library, and the administration building, and what they're gonna do. My concern was, we did not see a whole lot of police activity, how are they gonna amend that? And if it's all lumped in together,
We can't tell.
we can't tell.
so let me make a suggestion. I think that's a really good point, and we definitely did that in looking at the RFQ.
Right.
So maybe if we combine the two suggestions, that we change the line item to be understanding the project and specific project needs, and then we ask and go out with this.
Yeah.
And then we ask a subcommittee to do a breakdown and break it into subcategories for our internal use.
Right.
We don't
Wouldn't that be
really-
under
we don't really
project
have to
team though?
communicate that.
Is it project team where you're gonna evaluate their skill set?
We've already seen some of
police
their
and-
project team already. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, okay. But would you be okay if we did that internally later, as opposed to limiting ourselves here in this document?
That's all right, we wanna do it later, but let's do it.
Okay,
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion.
yeah, I do too. Okay, any other comments on page 6?
Item 4, the proposal content, do we want to strike the utility undergrounding as we did earlier?
Yeah,
Is that-
yeah. You got that, Gordon? George, did you,
I'm sorry, I think Gordon may have missed,
No, I heard it.
undergrounded the utilities comes out, with that
Well,
cleanup
because-
of the
well,
alternate.
I think we need to go further in that because it says including 4 add alternates.
He's gonna clean it up, he's
Yeah.
gonna make it
That was
consistent
very
with the other
confusing
thing.
before, yeah.
Yeah, and you might even just define the term.
I could even, it doesn't hurt to put it in 3 places. So if we needed all 3,
It's
that's
gonna be
okay.
very wordy, yeah, you might come up with, project alternates, or
Yeah,
bing, bing, bing,
well,
bing,
there's only
bing,
5
project
bullet
alternates.
points. Yeah.
Okay, so any other comments on page 6?
Yeah, one comment. So we had talked about,
Yeah, okay.
no, I'll make 2 comments.
I'm gonna get a sleeping bag.
So we had talked about some phrases that were in the detailed document that talk about project team and design team, and we all agreed that they were confusing. So I put together an org chart that showed what those were, and if we think this is a valuable thing to have or not, should it go as a separate appendix? Because I can't think where else you put it in here.
We have to see it first.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea because when we're going to the scope, my question is, what's the definition of project
Right.
team?
Right, so this is what this attempts to do.
Well, and it is
In our
listed.
subcommittee, we really went over.
It's called out in here very
It is-
clearly.
It is called out in the
It
very
wasn't initially,
beginning.
but it is
Yeah.
now, yeah.
Can you pass that around, so we can just look at Clyde's handiwork?
Okay, so somewhere,
George, I know George wanted to get it in there, right? Yeah, so it's a question of where we put it. But my thought was, does it need to be called out as a separate?
Yeah. But anybody's worried about what is the definition of project team, it's on the very first page of the scope of services. It's the
It-
first
It's
paragraph.
defined.
well, that was just for the project team. Then you go into design team, then you go into consultant team.
And it would be, and we
then you
said,
go into
yeah,
representative of project team.
right, no, that's right. And we wanted to have somewhere that was one place you could see them all, and
Yeah, I
that's,
think-
Clyde came
yeah.
up with this, yeah.
But you have, but I don't think you covered.
And- Or it could be a list, it could be a defined
I
term
think a
list,
list
or,
would help. I mean, that doesn't hurt either. I mean, put whatever it takes because
yeah,
it's, I wrote down all these,
Circle.
proper nouns.
terms.
Yeah.
Project team, design team, architect, I know what the architect is, but consultant team, representative of project team.
Oh, some of them came out too, the library administrative,
Yeah,
coordinating
I think
team,
who are all
that
these
came out.
people and, and then.
Yeah.
that
So
was-
that's the end question, is if we include an actual representation of what this organization is gonna look like, do we include it?
Well, I think it'd be valuable to hear what staff thinks, since they're gonna be administrating this contract.
I hate to go backward, but
I didn't
I'm
have.
I'm just looking at the design team and thinking about the comments that were made. The design team just says, here, including any significant changes between team composition. Do you want to specifically call out library and police in there so that if they didn't include, I mean, there was the one group that included, a specific police consultant. Some included a specific library. But if that's part of the criterion that you're gonna be using to evaluate it, then you want to be specific enough up front to ask for it.
What's a specific suggestion, Gordon? So
Under-
what would the change be?
Under the proposal content, under design team, it just says, including significant changes between team composition submitted in the SAQ of this proposal. That's under
Page
Roman,
6.
page 6, Roman numeral 7, item 1. And I'm wondering if there should be, I'm sorry, it's just in the back of my mind, if there should be another sentence in there that says, this is an opportunity to include, or something like that, specific, police designer, library designer, net zero designer, whatever. if they didn't have that in their team before. You know, they've sort
But
of.
don't you think
had
this
some-
supports that? I think that's exactly what that language says.
Because it's asking for any significant changes, right?
Exactly. I think it's exactly what it says.
That's fine.
I think that is what we want.
Well,
And
I think it
that's
is what we
we're
want
asking.
as well.
That's what I
I wouldn't
understood it
say
to be asking.
between, I would say from the composition. Include any significant changes from the team composition submitted in the SOQ and this
That's
proposal,
good,
not between.
that's good.
The
Agree with
team
that.
was-
That's,
Agree with
that
that. Okay.
kind of,
Okay.
So the
Yep,
GC
that's a good
reports to you,
change.
Burton? Not to Paul.
Yes, but they're gonna have, there's actually somebody other than Paul probably on the site, you know, doing inspection and project management.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. All right, so now, I think we've gotten to appendix
Is this
one.
appendix
No,
5?
no, I got, oh,
I
appendix
think-
one. Can I talk about the site plan?
Is this appendix 5?
No, that's appendix one. Dee Dee, that was for you. That's appendix one.
the master plan.
Yes, you're right.
So today it was pointed out to me that there is no designation of where the police department will be. And when fundraising for some people, that will be an important issue. So I called George, and George, I think, has corrected, has changed the wording on this blob for city administration to city administration, planning, and police building. So can I make sure we adjust that?
Yeah, that's
Or,
actually,
and to be consistent with the RFP, would just say city administration dash police.
but it's actually,
I'm sorry.
the language is different.
You came up with
Right.
it.
Yeah, it's called,
You remember that earlier, right?
town admin, comma, building, comma, planning,
Oh.
and police departments.
We can't give it a generic term, no. What are you gonna call it in the RFP? That same thing?
A blob.
Town administration,
You can call it town administration and police.
Right, that's what,
comma.
I don't know that we need planning, I mean, I don't care.
We
but-
never used planning before, we used admin dash police.
Well, I think Dee Dee's, one of Dee Dee's responses, if I could paraphrase your response back, is, that's a rather big blob, and the more things in the blob, the better it looks.
Yeah, it made me.
Planning and
Well,
police.
people
The
are thinking.
alliteration kind of rolls off your tongue a little bit.
It's okay.
It's
My second
very
thought
clear,
was, but more
it's
names
clear in the
there.
RFP that there's more things in there than PD and admin.
And then do you do that all the way through this thing? Every time it says, now it says administration dash police, do you make a defined term, or do you,
Well, I would just make a defined term with it, and this,
Right here?
that's just for the visual.
just for the visual?
Yeah,
Roger. So the visual will be updated to reflect those four uses?
Building.
We
Admin,
may
planning,
go horizontal, so
building
that
and police.
it's bigger.
Good idea.
But all this-
admin, building, I don't know, something. Okay.
So let's move on, let's move on.
But these guys didn't pick it up.
APP.
Gordon, rotate it on the page so it's bigger.
And I'll get some help from my technical advisor.
Okay, great. All right. Moving on from appendix one, appendix two, project schedule. I was just gonna caveat that this is not updated, and I don't know that it's been totally synced in. We're gonna trust staff to come back with it, good?
Okay,
Amen. Appendix,
well, we went through 3 pages.
what's appendix three, is that the big one? Yes, it is. Okay, appendix three, now we've got, just to put it in context, we have 20 pages. Is that right?
In 20 minutes.
It's not 28.
Let's go.
20 pages, let's go. We got 45 minutes. So, page
More sense? Okay.
Page one, any comments?
Can we make budget-driven project double-sized letters?
Okay, any other comments on page one? Page two,
Put it in bold.
Page two,
page two.
at the very bottom.
You wouldn't, he was joking, but I think it's a really good idea. I think bolding that is a really, really, really good idea, because they'll really get their, do you mind, Gordon?
We say it enough, it's like it's.
Bold,
Right.
okay.
Reminds me of the Southerner who said, he thought damn Yankee was one word until he was 38.
That's right.
You can't say it.
Okay, page two.
Okay, so wait a minute, where are we gonna put all the definitions of it? Did we decide on that, you know?
I think they are here. I think the design team is defined. The question is.
Project team is defined.
No,
the design team is
project
defined, isn't it?
defined, and then the design team is in there, but I don't know.
It's
who
not
they are.
defined,
You know what would be, are you sure, never?
it's defined later, but not.
but not
You know
here. It
what
should
might be
defined.
helpful is in this lovely exhibit that everyone's had a chance to see, that maybe they would say where it's defined, section bank.
Well, you know, it just says bi-weekly design team, paren, da-da-da-da.
You want a suggestion on the page where you currently have the image of the
Yeah.
master plan? Just below it, put project team, list the 3 names, and you basically do what
Yeah.
Clive did.
Yeah.
Just list the names.
However, but
So it's
in
in a
legal,
very obvious place where
Yeah,
people
but
can
that's
in
see.
legal documents, you
That part
always,
is
you know,
Right.
like landlord, you know.
Define term.
You
You
have
define the term,
These
the
all
first
are-
time